yourself something nice, warm to drink. Forgive me if I pick up my warm cup because I got a little frog in my throat. So without further ado, I am going to bring my co-host onto the screen. Let me tell you, words cannot explain how much of an impact she's been to the network, along with everyone else. I have really, really been fortunate enough to build a powerful team with some powerful people that are really, really understanding this whole thing and where it's going. So I really appreciate her and love her for what she's doing. And then also Bridget and the other ladies, Dr. Marcia and Ronnie, and On the Ground with Danielle Brown, Karen B. Karen B is still involved with the organization. And of course, music is also a very important piece to this organization. So without further ado, I'm going to stop chattering my mouth and I'm going to bring on the screen the beautiful, intelligent, smart, witty, funny, but very, very, very informational driven and serious about her business, the one and only Lady L. Lady L, say hello. What's up to the people?
Hey everyone, how are you doing this evening? I'm the one that also has a little bit of a frog in my throat, so you're just going to have to bear with me. I'm going to be grabbing some water every now and then as well. But I am so happy to be a part of this dynamic team. And this is just an honor for me to join this team and all the work that you're doing here. It is truly a blessing. Thank you. I can't wait till we get into these motivational moments that Rich is always going to be sharing with us. It's awesome.
Yes, yes, yes. That's right. She had me to label them motivational moments, and that's what they were. So everything is about labeling and titling. For those of you that are in the tech world or social media world, you need to label and title things appropriately so they can be found. So she's working with me on that, and her and Bridget and the whole crew, man, TK Barlow, we have a wonderful, amazing team. And that cat Dave, we're doing some
Yes.
amazing, amazing things. And it's because of you guys and your constant support, unwavering support, and what we do. We're able to do what we do. As y'all can see, she's wearing pink. There's no memo. I don't know what happened. It worked out. So thanks for making me look good. Without further ado,
You got it.
I want to start by just kind of diving into the conversation about doing it scared and probably ask you a couple of questions about doing it scared. I'm always speaking about in my motivational moments on how we should sometimes just do things, even if we're afraid, do it scared. The worst thing in the world, they say it was a nurse that did like a study, and she was a hospice nurse. And what she did was all of her patients, she asked them, um, what was the number one regret that you had in life? And if you had a chance to do it all over again, what would you do differently? And they said 90 something percent of the people said that they wish they had taken the chance. They wish they had taken the step. They wish they had taken the risk. And so, regardless of where you are in life, there's always an opportunity to get started. You know, Kentucky Fried Chicken, the Colonel, he didn't make it until he was about 70. So, if I have to be him, I made my mind up. I'm not stopping until I meet the Colonel's standards. As long as God gives me breath, um, I'm going to continue doing what I believe I was put on this earth to do. Um, so, without me hogging the conversation. How you doing, Marie? I'm going to dive into asking you a question because there's a clip I'm going to play after you give your comments on this about why would you encourage people to do it if they're afraid to do it anyway?
That was the revelation that I got for myself. There were so many things I wanted to do. Now, I don't know if you heard about the bucket list. I have like a dream list, and there are so many things that I want to do, but I've let fear keep me from it. And so I would just keep procrastinating, and procrastination is not contentment. It's just delaying what you need to do. And so God gave me that revelation, and it was just like pushing me out there, like, do it scared, because I always had some excuse as to why I couldn't do it. And fear was the main culprit as far as preventing me from moving forward. So, yeah, I just decided to share that message with everybody else.
Wow.
But first, that message was for me. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Well, one of the things that I know is about myself, and not to toot my own horn, is at some point in life, I remember like the kid, I was always tall and slinky and a little afraid to play basketball, but I was always the tallest in my age group because I was in the highest percentile. So because I was kind of clumsy and tall and linky, they used to call me Rope Man. So when it came time to play basketball, I would never be around out of fear of them picking me just because I was tall. I was always afraid um, until, if I did get picked, I was always put on the team that was going to lose. So at some point,
Mhm.
I started learning, like, what's the worst could happen? You lose a game. You can play another one. You can play another one. The worst that can happen is you lose.
Yeah.
But you don't lose your life. You know what? You might actually find yourself in a winner's position. And eventually, after playing enough basketball, I become pretty good at it, and then I end up playing basketball, and pretty decent until I got injured. So I'm about 6'4", and I enjoyed playing basketball. But the moral of that story was, in the beginning, I was very, very afraid, um, but I did it anyway because I knew what the risk was. So as you get older in life, you
Yeah.
start to understand more and more and more the uh, the things that are associated with losing or loss and the risk that you take. So obviously, the older you get, the more financial uh, liability it becomes, the more
Yes.
responsibilities that you have to consider doing it. Some of us are raising children. Some of us are in our retirement lives, and we just haven't found a strategic way to navigate through it. Well, unlike most talk shows, I'm not just going to tell you to do it scared. I'm going to give you some nuggets on how to do it from where you are and where you would like to be. What do you think about that, Lynn?
I think that's awesome because everybody's looking for a better quality of life. And there are things that they want to do to achieve it, but they keep circling around as far as how did they get from point A to point B. So I think it's important for us to help them to get there, at least to make the first step.
I agree.
It's important. Yeah.
I agree. So if you guys would take a second, I love this clip. I'm going to play it again. I played it last week for those of you that may have missed it. It's called "Do It" and "Do It Scared." It's Linda on the video clip. So y'all check it out, and then we'll talk about it when we come back.
Hey everyone, my name is Linda Murdaugh, and I have an urgent message for some of you, and that message is do it scared. Now, I know there are some of you who have received a message from God and some insight to launch out and to do some things, and you are letting your fear talk to you louder than your faith. And so, for those of you who are experiencing that, I want to tell you right now to do it scared. Now, I know that you're waiting for you to receive more confidence, for you to be able to step out on faith. And don't do that. Let me tell you something. I'm speaking from experience. You'll never feel like you've got enough confidence. And that's what the enemy is banking on. The enemy wants you to stay in your fear. He wants you to stay on the sidelines, thinking that you'll never have enough confidence, comparing yourself to somebody else. And I want to tell you right now, don't do that. God is telling you right now to do it scared. There's an experience that God wants you to encounter with him through your fear. And so if you would just step out on faith and do it while you're afraid, God is going to meet you at every step. He's going to show himself to be Lord in your life as you step out on faith, even though you are scared. Don't wait until your fear dissipates completely before you step out on faith. So that's what I'm saying to you today. Do it scared. And let me tell you something. If you were to wait until you felt like you have enough confidence or you had enough strength or you had enough intelligence or have enough resources, let me tell you something. That means you get the glory out of it. But God wants you to trust him enough so that he gets the glory out of your situation, so that you can see all the things that you can do, see all the things that you're capable of doing as you trust him in the process. So do it scared. And I know, again, I'm telling you from experience, God is going to show up in your situation. It's going to show you more of who you are. Now, you thought you knew yourself, but there's different circumstances and different situations that will really truly show you who you are in your character whenever you're testing that faith. And so again, I want to remind you to do it scared. You know that you can always stay on the sidelines thinking to yourself that you don't have enough confidence and you don't have enough intelligence. Yeah, the enemy can convince you to stay right where you are. But in spite of all of that, while you're trembling, while you're afraid, do it anyway and watch God show up. Be blessed.
Yes. So that was a great message. Put a one. If you received that information, like Sheila G said, put a one in the chat room if that made sense to you. I thought it was important for me to play that piece so that we can be inspired by it. It inspired me and hopefully inspired you as well. So with that being said, we spoke about how a hospice nurse did a survey and she was asking questions on some of the biggest regrets. And most people regrets were not taking a risk or taking the chance on their life or doing what it is that they desire to do. So, between Lady L and I, we're just going to try to come up with some great pointers for those of us that have life, that's lifing, responsibilities. We have bills to pay. We have rent. We have responsibilities. We have liabilities. We have all these things going on. And how do you do it now? And is all lost? What if I'm in my 60s? What if I'm in my 70s? What if I'm in my 50s? What if I'm already retired? What would you say to those people that would use those reasons to not start the venture on what it is they want to do with their life?
Well, that's a very good question. I think the first thing I would ask them to do is to do some self-evaluation, to look in the mirror at yourself, no one around, and ask yourself some hard questions. Do you believe that you're experiencing the quality of life that you just believe that you should be experiencing? That's a good question to ask yourself. So you can start the process of evaluating, are these things worth your time or your investment? Because again, like I said, everybody, all of us are just looking for a better quality of life, to have life be more enjoyable for them. And so the first thing I would say is to ask yourself that question. Are you experiencing that better quality of life? If you are, you're content, wonderful. If you're not content, then maybe you need to look at doing a dream list. List those things that you desire, deeply desire to do in your life or accomplish in your life. Because I believe that you're still on this earth for a reason. And I believe it's never too late. And that's what I would say, first of all.
Wow.
What do you think?
I think that's a great point. I think it's a great point. If you're still here, then there's purpose. There's purpose on your life. There's a reason for your life. Some of us overlook our life purpose, and we overlook the low-bearing fruit that we have. Sometimes the fruit that we bear is the one we don't pay attention to, like the knowledge that we've gained over the years. There are people that want to hear your survival rate, your story. How did you navigate with no instructions? How did you navigate with no source of reasoning or understanding or very little support? How did you navigate those situations? So there's so much information that is valuable that we may have thought to not be valuable, but now is very valuable because there's some some person out there that's going through the exact same thing that you've been through,
Yeah.
and you made it through and you navigated it very well, but you didn't know when you were navigating that you were going to come out on the
Yeah.
other side. So I'm going to add on to that. That is a great point, but I believe that if you do, like Lady L said, a self evaluation on where you are today, who you are now. No one's saying sign up to be in the NBA or the NFL. We're not saying that. We're saying evaluate who you are, where you are, and whose you are, right? And once we identify those things, then we could start to create a dream list. The dream list should be realistic based on our dreams. What can we dream? What
Yep.
should we be dreaming based on who we are in today's society? What is tangible, and
Yeah.
how do we fulfill those our destiny? What do you think about that, Lady L?
I think you're absolutely right with that. And so that leads me to something else. And I do want to stay on track as far as how we help them accomplish that. But I can kind of hear some those doubts and those questions that people can have that will prevent them from moving further. Some people will think, oh, what do you mean by a dream list? So for me, let's say this. A dream is something that you desire to do, that you have the capability of doing and achieving within a short period of time or a long period of time. So, um, so let me just give that generic definition of a dream, an aspiration, a goal. That's simply put, something like that. I dream to win $1 million one day. Hopefully, I will get it. But hey, I'm not going to rule that out. That's still on my dream list. But there are other things, like you said, the low hanging fruit that I can do, things that I can accomplish. That is on the list as well. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, I think
Um,
that's
but I,
that's that's
yeah,
a good point. Sorry to interrupt, but that's a great
no,
point for those of you that may be on the fence of like, okay, where are they going? Sheila makes a comment about stop making excuses when you're not sure what you're making excuses for. That is absolutely correct. I find Sheila that's a really great point. Thank you. I find that it's not as easy as because when I started my coaching venture, one of the things I would do is I would instruct people to do things like I would have this just do it attitude. Like you can, oh my God, you can do it because I had developed. So I had already been through my transformation. I had already changed my mindset. So now I'm speaking to the novice who has the same skills and talents and that are very valuable in what they know and what they are capable of doing. And I was just throwing that shotgun blast like, hey, let's just get started. Let's just go. Well, you know
yes,
what? It didn't work that way for me. So it's a process and understanding that process. So one of the things
yeah,
outside of what Lady L said is uh, doing a self evaluation is one. Creating a short goals and dreams list, right? Realizing what's tangible, who you are, whose you are, and what is it that you want out of life. One of the things I want to add in is frequency. I spoke about that today. I kind of add a Facebook clip, and it went viral. The thing's probably has about 800 and something views within the first hour or so. Um, it's because of the content that I was speaking of. Frequency. Okay, so we already gave you the steps of knowing the vision, creating your goals, the short term, understanding the short term and the long term goal. And the other thing is for me is frequency. Frequency meaning as human beings, we all have those levels of frequencies that are high in our life at certain points in our life. So what does that mean? Or certain points in our day. Some people, you ever hear people say, I'm not a morning person? Some
yeah,
people are not morning people, right? Because they're at their brain's low frequency. Where they're not completely up yet. They don't talk to me. I'm not ready. Oh, I'm not. Why are you singing? Why are you so happy? Like because they're radiating low, right? And I think the mistake that we try to do is that we try to change that low frequency to high frequency. Well, I would go a step further and ask you to consider, when is your high frequency? When are you at your most innovative? What time of day are you most creative? What time of day are you most energetic? What time of day are you most optimistic about yourself and life? And then build your vision and your dreams during that period. But if you wake up early in the morning and you're not a morning person, and you're radiating from a low frequency, you're going to get low results. Some folks don't know when their frequency is radiating. Why is this important? Because this framework will literally help you understand when to pour into yourself and when to be innovative and creative. And it works for me. This thing actually, it does work. I know my high frequency moments are going to be 8 a.m. to 12 noon, and then 8 p.m. to 12 midnight. Those are my two high frequency. When you're going to get the most from Rich, where he's going to show his best. But I can operate within those times that are not within the high frequency because I've prepared to be successful during my low frequency points. I've prepared for those moments when I was in my high frequency. Please put a 1 in the chat room if you're understanding exactly what I'm saying. What are your thoughts on that, Lady L?
I think you are absolutely right. And that goes back to doing a self-reflection. In order for you to move forward, you have to have emotional intelligence. You have to be aware of your own identity. You have to know yourself. And some people don't want to look at themselves because they have to face reality. They would have to be able to face reality to see that, hey, I'm low frequency during this time, or, oh, I don't have this. And they think it's a path of being detrimental or to actually be talking negative about yourself. That's not it at all. It's not it. It's just to be aware of yourself. And it also starts with the mindset. You mentioned that earlier about the mindset. It definitely starts there because all those excuses that you have, they come from fear. And there's different types of fear. That there could be fear of failure, fear of success, so many different levels of fear. And fear is there to paralyze you from making any steps. The steps that we've given to you are very simple. But why is it so hard for people to execute that step from one step to the second step? Because they will find excuses. And so why do they have excuses? Because fear or other things will come up into their minds to say, you don't need to do that. They will rationalize it away, you know. So I don't know if you experienced that with starting your coaching service, your coaching business. Have you found yourself kind of rationalizing some of those things away?
Yes, yes. In the beginning, whenever I'm coaching, what I realize is that the first phone call, the discovery call, is mostly about the fear and the anxiety associated with the fear. And that becomes the most challenging part of the coaching segment is fear. Once you get rid of all the reasons why a person should not have fear, then you can actually get into the why, the purpose, right? So once you get beyond the fear, so yes, to answer your question in short, yes, fear is a really big deal, but sometimes you should do it scared. One of the things we need to take with us is that we often repeat what we do not repair.
Yeah.
So every New Year's Eve, we make these resolutions. Every birthday, we make these birthday resolutions, and we keep making these changes mentally, and we mean well, but we notice that we keep repeating the same things. And I think a lot of that comes from we're not repairing, so we are repeating. So let's start by
Yes.
identifying those things that we need to repair so that we don't repeat them. And then you'll find yourself on a completely different landscape.
Absolutely. And also, I would add to that is repairing takes you to also be able to ask for help. that takes a lot of courage for some people to want to ask for help. And I think it's necessary. After you do the evaluation, you realize I need help in this area. Then the next step is to be intentional in getting the help that you need. People will stay stuck in that period. And I want us to talk about how you can transfer out of when you get stuck, because we talked about the steps. And I think whenever let's say we do the self reflection, we make the dream list, and we focus on our mindset and we identify the reason for our mindset, and then we get stuck. We get stuck in a situation where we attempt to do something on our list and it fails, or something doesn't go right. And then that could be the reason for some people to just move backwards and just to quit altogether. So I believe that the resolution is that, and I definitely want to hear your input on this, is being focused and resolute with the right mindset. And I mean, you talked about this with your ebook, with the entrepreneur mindset, which is great. By the way, you guys have got to download that ebook. It is there on the website to download it. You actually gave some very good nuggets to help those who are, if they have aspirations of being an entrepreneur, to help them to get started in that. And I'll let you talk more about that if you would like. But it is focused on that mindset, and I believe it's your mindset that you have that's going to help you move forward in any obstacles or any failures that you experience. What are your thoughts about that?
Thanks. No, absolutely. If you haven't downloaded the entrepreneur mindset, the mindset of an entrepreneur, please download it. It's the mistake is that is just specifically for those people that are entering the business or desiring to be a business. Is literally like a mindset transformation, and I speak about some things that, and it's like a workbook at the end, and it asks you a couple of questions. But one of the things that I want to speak to is that there are always going to be way more reasons to not than to. It's always there.
Yeah.
The brain is already programmed to keep you safe, and it's always giving you a way out of something that is unrecognizable for it. So if you begin to allow your brain to get in the way, it would start to tell you that's not safe, that's not okay. I'm going to show you 7 to 10 ways out when you're only looking at one way in. But that one way in may be the way in. So always keep in mind, there's always going to be reasons why things would not work. But if you listen
Yeah.
to that, you'll spend the rest of your life trying to find a reason to do it. You have to be the reason. You have to be the platform. You have to be the source. No one's coming with the cape. It's all on you. And you can do it. And guess what? I love to use this station because I did it scared. I did it alone. It was just me, just myself, and a handful of people that listened and gave me their advice and their opinions. And every week I came back considering their opinions and their advice. And
Yeah.
every week, people were saying you should consider this. Well, you know what? One thing I did not consider was quitting. Today is a great day not to give up on yourself. Tomorrow's
That's right.
a great day not to give up on yourself. And I'm going to tell you why. What if it works out on the 7th day, but you're not here, but you threw in the towel and you gave up and you are right there? What if you give up?
Yeah.
So my point to you is sometimes you have to tell yourself to be quiet and then listen to the person that does not exist. The old you needs to pass away so that the new you can be given birth to. It's the old you
Yes.
that holds you back because the old you didn't have the information. The old you didn't have the knowledge. The old you didn't have the story of completion and navigation. The old you didn't have that. The new you have everything that you need within you to do what you need to do. Rather, it's writing a book, telling a story, helping someone else, doing whatever it is that you like to do on your bucket list, outside your bucket list. It's the new you. But until the new you come alive, the old you will continue to hinder you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a question that's in the chat that I definitely wanted to address. And the question is, how do you focus if you're afraid? Very good question. And I would like to answer that question and also, Rich, give you an opportunity to address that question. My answer to that question on how you focus when you're afraid, let me just say this. It's a good question because whatever you focus on becomes your reality. Whatever you focus on becomes your reality. So you have to shift your focus. And I would say focus on faith. I am a woman of faith, and it is my faith that has kept me alive. So I know that there is an image that God has given to me as far as who I am in Him, and that is what pushes me forward, and that's what keeps me focusing. Whenever I take my eyes off of that image or that perception or vision, like you were talking about, I can become distracted. I can compare myself into the comparison trap of how everyone else is succeeding and what everyone else is doing and what resources I don't have and all of my failures and shortcomings. But whenever I fix my focus on Him and on the image and the vision that He's given unto me, it helps me to move forward. So, how do you focus if you're afraid? You're focusing on fear. Take your focus off of the fear and put your focus on faith. So that's
Well,
my answer to that question. But Rich, I know you have more to elaborate with that.
I like that. That's really a really good question, but it's definitely an amazing answer. And shout out to whoever asked that question. That's a really good question. The questions that we ask, sometimes you may be asking them for others as well. So thank you for that question. How do you remain focused? Well, one of the reasons that question is asked because it is probably the most prominent situation that we deal with when we're getting ready to do something. You said it so eloquently, but I'm going to go back to my police days. As a police officer on road patrol, I'm going back many years, on road patrol, when there was a DUI or it was a holiday weekend, I don't know if you ever noticed, whenever there's lights on the right or left side of the shoulder on an expressway, it appears that the traffic is leaning more towards the lights. They begin to funnel. And sometimes you'll see that troopers, unfortunately, get hit because what happens is the drivers begin to focus on the flashing lights and they go inadvertently in the direction of the flashing lights. So that's just an example on how wherever you put your foresight is the direction that you actually go. So it's not safe to focus on things that are distracting. It's not safe to focus on things that will deter you from whatever it is that you want to do. If you stay focused and you can block out all the noise, I promise you, you'll be miles ahead of where you've been if you just stay focused, because there'll be distractions. The question is going to be, can you stay focused with the distractions? These dreams were given to you by your maker, your belief system, and they were instilled in you because they're possible. The subconscious mind is telling you that you can achieve these things. Focus on how you achieve them one step at a time.
Absolutely. That is so true. Um, Let me ask you this question. Everybody has these methods or self mechanisms of how they calm themselves when they're afraid. Some of them are beneficial and some of them are detrimental. Um, I think that would go back to self-awareness as far as what do you do when you're afraid? I think you need to know that as well. Because some people, whenever they're afraid, they avoid
Of
situations.
course.
Some people, when they're afraid, I don't know, they act differently, whatever. But I think it's important for you to realize, how do you act when you are afraid? And if you agree with me, Rich, why do you think that's important?
I think that's a good question. I think fear, and I'm going to say this very carefully, fear is non existent because in order for you to fear something, it's futuristic. So, concerned, being concerned about the future creates anxiety, it creates fear. So, what happens is most often we're concerned about something that has not occurred. You can
Yeah,
only fear something in the future. Typically, we don't fear the past because it's already past. So we fear the future, and often we create this stigma of what's going to happen. We build this anxiety. We build this segment of all these things that can go wrong, and we put these things in our head, and now we actually have something to be concerned about because we've created a whole plateau that does not exist. We don't know how we're going to perform, but we just taught ourselves by focusing on the fear how we're going to perform. Listen, if you think of it the way that I think about it, when I speak on large stages, when I'm putting situations where the spotlight's on me, I'm not concerned about that light being on me. I'm not concerned about how am I going to look and how am I going to sound. I'm not concerned about that because the minute I begin to start to imagine the detriment, the pain, the mistakes, I start to think about that. I start building something that does not even exist. I haven't even been introduced, and I'm already failing, and my name has not even been called. And I'm going to say this one last thing. Most successful people are not afraid to be embarrassed publicly. I want you to think about that.
yeah, that is a good point. So we keep going back to talking about awareness, your identity, your character, because if you can get over that fear of being humiliated or failure, I think it will minimize any type of distractions that you will have, that you would encounter, that will keep you stagnated, will keep you stifled in moving forward. And so that's why it was important for that revelation that I got, about do it scared, because you're never going to feel like you're okay. I don't think anybody ever feels like they've arrived. It is a journey, literally. It is a journey. There's always something you can achieve. There's always something else that you can arrive to. There are milestones, yes. I don't believe it's a destination. That's just my thought process about that. But I believe that um, if you're struggling with the fear and it's hard for you to focus or whatever, then just do it afraid. Just like do it scared. So I believe that's important.
Yes. I love that. I love that. I love these comments. Let me know if I forgot anything. Some of them I probably didn't see. Ronnie made a good point. Uh, yeah, put God first in everything. Is it will follow through. My mom, I got to read this comment. She said she had the fear of moving
Yeah.
out of public housing, being a single mom raising 4 kids. Uh, but we're all truly successful. I can elaborate to this because I was there. I was one of those snotty nosed kids. So we were raised in public housing, and that's the eloquent words. I was raised in the pork and beans, Liberty Square projects, right? And we were so comfortable. We didn't know that we were unfortunate, misfortune, whatever you call it, poor. We really didn't know. Um, but at some point in our lives, mom kept a strong hold on us, and just watching her not be afraid kind of made me fierce. Like I didn't really fear anything because I was like, this little lady, she's small in stature, she's light, but she was just mean. She was nothing to play with, right? She was nothing to play with. But at the end of the day, the fierceness and the lack of fear is what I picked up from her. So I moved my life in that direction, and so did my sisters. All of my siblings are extremely successful. Um, but it's seeing her maneuver through life without being afraid. But not only that, her biggest fear was moving out of public housing. We was like, Mom, you don't need this anymore. Your kids, we've made it. We'll buy your house, we'll buy your car, we'll whatever you. But she was so comfortable in public housing, the fear just would not allow. She was so attached to what she knew was comfortable, and she was afraid of the unknown. She had been there most of our life. So when she transitioned and went through that transformation, she never looked back, but she had to reset her mind to realize she's not the old version of herself. These are not the old times. Things are different now. So thanks for putting that comment in there. That's a very good comment. Thank you.
That was awesome. Awesome. And you talked about the complacency. I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. They get comfortable with the uncomfortable situations and they would just stay where they are. And I talked about that in the video clip is that you don't know what you can achieve unless you try. You don't know who you are until you experience that. And I believe that God is going to show you a different side of yourself as you go through this encounter, as you learn something about yourself. I believe, and I believe you said this, Rich, also about mistakes. Um, you learn more from mistakes than you do success, and from that, you can grow. And if you would change your perception of what mistake is, then you can actually move forward. I think that's important. I
Right.
think we should know about that.
That is big. That is big. You know, what I said, going back to what I said about the most successful people are not afraid of being embarrassed publicly. What I was really alluding to was um, pride. Some of us are so prideful, we won't take the chance. We won't take the step because we don't want people to see us fall. When the truth of the matter is, as I was bumping my head trying to build this whole platform and stream unavailable, no connection, it was just horrible, just deplorable in the beginning. It was embarrassing, but I was willing to be embarrassed publicly. And the point I'm trying to make is that there were people that were watching and they were waiting for me to get it together. And when I got it together, they came and they showed up. And the point that I'm trying to make is that we don't get to this point if we're not willing to make those mistakes. Don't care about what people say about your mistakes. What people think about you at your age, in this place, in this juncture in your life, regardless of all the mistakes you may have made, all the mishaps, it's all part of it. We get so caught up in getting to the finish line, we forget to enjoy the journey. This, my friends, is the journey. Every day you embark on a new leg and a new race. And every day we don't know if that race is over. So just think about today. Did you spend your entire day today being grateful for the journey that you're on, or were you thinking about getting to the finish line? Were you thinking about the first of the month? Were you thinking about the rent? Were you thinking about the bills? Like, are you really enjoying the journey? And are you doing the things that life has made available to you? Let's enjoy the journey.
Yes. And I've got to be a little bit transparent because um, for me, I realized that I was just simply existing. When you're in survival mode, I think I would honestly, I would say I spent most of my adult life in survival mode, where I was just existing, just paying the bills, just doing whatever I need to do just to survive. And um, I got to a point where I was like, is this all life is meant to be? It's just for me to survive. So I don't really believe that I can live life abundantly. I don't believe that I can do something outside of just existing. And I realized that nobody can control that but you. Nobody can control that but me. And when I realized that I could do more than just exist, that I can actually live life abundantly, and it started in my mindset and changing my mind, and then the actions will follow and being consistent with it. That's what I had to learn for myself. No one could do that for me. But first, I had to finally get to the point where I'm like, again, a better quality of life. Is this all that I'm here? What is my purpose? Just to exist? But no, my purpose is more than that. It's greater than that. And I think the reason why people dare to dream again, because you had dreams when you were younger. You had dreams when you were a little kid. And yes, as you get older, those dreams change, they evolve and they grow. But we don't go back and dream again because someone will say it's too old, you're too old to dream, or that's when you do that. Okay, yeah, all right. So, what are you going to do? Are you going to listen to what society says? Are you going to listen to what's on the inside of you saying, this desire will not go away? What I'm doing now has always been a consistent desire all throughout my adulthood. And for me to do it now, to coach, to give, to exhort, it gives me so much pleasure. I know you've heard this saying about if you could do something that you really love, you're not really, no, you don't have to work another day in your life. That is so true. Because to me, this is not work. This is me living out my purpose. But I could not get there. I would not get there if I didn't dare to dream again and reevaluate it and say, you know what? I don't want to simply exist anymore. I want to thrive. I want to walk in my purpose and I want to live life abundantly. And so that looks different for me and it looks different for everybody else. But it's important that you go back and dream again. It's never too late.
Wow, wow, that's a really good point. That is a really good point. Listen, for those folks that have excuses, like I call it the excuse factor, right? The EF, excuse factor, right? So what happens is there's always an excuse, right? So it's like this happens in our lives where we're out of high school and we go to college, if that's the case, we get our job and then we're told to get married or get into a relationship. And then we start having kids. And then when we start having kids, we begin to lose sight of our dreams. And then we start pouring what's for us. We start just focusing on the kids. And then we raise the kids. And then we encourage those kids to have kids and get married. And then now it becomes about the grandkids, right? So then you're living your life generation after generation for everyone else other than yourself. At some point, let's stop with the excuses. I'm gonna give you an example. My daughter was a preemie baby, so my wife was bedridden probably 6 7 months. So when she got here preemie, there was a whole lot of complications. The moment she got healthier, everything that I did, they were right there. Like I would, I had special ear muffs, so the loud music didn't bother her. She was raised in the studio. I recorded albums with her underneath the table. Um, she has complete etiquettes of my life. She understands every facet of my life. So everything that I do in the media business, from broadcasting, music production, traveling, everything that I do, my daughter has a system embedded into her head that this is how I should behave. So I'm saying it to say that don't say that you can't do it because she's enjoying the process. She's enjoying going to school saying, my dad is this, my dad is that, my dad has a radio show. Like, she's enjoying that, but she's aspiring to be like that. So what I'm saying is, there's always going to be an excuse. I have to take care of my kids. I have to take care of my grandkids. And then, as your parents get older, you start saying, well, now I have to take care of my elderly parents. Like, there's a way to achieve what it is that you need to achieve for yourself without compromising yourself. The life that you're giving, it is very, 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 very purposeful. It's intentional, and the DNA is given to you. What you do with the DNA that was given to you is your business. But don't get mad at the world when you didn't use the gifts that were given to you and you didn't unpack them. Don't be upset with the person that's out there enjoying their life because they found a way. Find a way. Find a way. It's possible. I promise you.
Yeah, I want to acknowledge some of the comments that I see here. I don't want to overlook anyone. Veronica was saying, "Amen. Have faith. That's the only way." Music was Sheila G was saying, "Richie hit the right nail on the head." Music, she was commenting about Rich, you were so right. Thank you, everyone, for your comments in the chat. Sheila G was with every failure comes great experience. Very true. Thank you, Sheila G, for that comment. And I want to, Sheila G, she was talking about pride is a two-way mirror that you can't see past. Very good comments.
Very good.
I love
very
it.
Good. Yes.
Very good. And again, she was saying you can't stay stagnant because you'll never truly live.
Ooh.
These are some great comments. I'm glad that everybody's getting these
yes.
motivational moments that we're giving to them. It's awesome. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. With that being said, we are down about 5 minutes, but I wanted to make sure y'all put some hearts and something in the chat room to let us know if you're loving this conversation. Lady L and myself, you can hear it. We were both kind of under the weather, different sides. She's in Charlotte, and I'm in Atlanta. I may have caught something through the internet.
Yeah.
I don't know. But listen, we just want to know if we're doing the right thing. If you're loving the conversations, please let us know what you'd like to hear from us. Let us know what you want us to discuss. I'm going to bring the phone lines back up so that you guys can call in. We can have a conversation. We can actually invite you here. Really, really love, like, if there's one thing that I can do absolutely for free, and I've never worked a day in my life, this is going to be it, just like Lady L. Period.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
absolutely.
Let me read this last comment. Music said, "Rich Live and Lady L, thanks for sharing your experiences. It really helped build up character for so many. Appreciate your honesty." Yeah, so you know what I learned, man, the best way to be a coach is the coaches that have been in pain, the same pain that you've been in. You can say I understand. You can say I know. You can say I can relate. So, I'm from the hood. I'm from the projects, and I wasn't there for like a skinny minute. I was there my whole life. So I can relate. I know pain, but I know how to prosper and how to push through using your purpose. And your purpose will create a platform for you, just like this has done it for myself and all the personalities that are here. It will do the same for you. And if there's anything we can do, and I mean that, and I hold my whole team accountable for that. If there's anyone that approaches us about their dream, their goal, and their vision, we're going to do whatever we can within reason to make sure that we can facilitate that. Final thoughts?
Yes, that's so true. And there are some people who are depressed, who are living in depression. And as a result, they may become suicidal. September the 10th is World Suicide Prevention Day. And we want to just acknowledge that right now. For those who may be in a place where they are at that point of being suicidal, we want to offer you help. You can actually call the suicide hotline, which is 988. And I also put a link in the chat for those who are watching from other countries. There's also global suicide hotlines for you to reach out to get some help, because we just don't want to bring up these topics. We want to actually give you solutions. And I hope that we've helped someone today. And if you're struggling with depression and you're at that point, we want to make sure you get the resources that you can get access to get help.
I appreciate that. The number was on the screen. It is 988, just like 911 is 988. So if you know of anyone that may need some assistance, or they may be having a difficult time, hey, That's the number, 988. And September 10th is Suicide Prevention Day. But we're going to be pushing this information all month. So this has been a Rich Live production. Of course, the beautiful Lady L is dropping nuggets each and every Tuesday with me. So it is the Rich Live and Lady L show right now. And we appreciate all the love that you're giving us. So stay tuned, and we'll be back with the Dr. Marcia show, where she's going to continue to drop more and more and more nuggets, all right? Know that we love you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Until the next time, see ya.